You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, Movo University, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Tractioning System, Imaging Services, Ignite Marketing, and Zingit Solutions. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 49 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host Luke Millette, and here's your host Jim Chester to tell you about our guest.
So if you guys want to know how to get quality associates and make it a win-win situation, listen to Dr. Noel Lloyd drop knowledge. So Dr. Noel, what is your chiropractic story and what makes you unique in the chiropractic world?
Well, my chiropractic story started as a young kid. I was at a family picnic in North Everett, Washington, which is just north of Seattle, and about 5 years old, hanging by my knees from the monkey bars, and I yelled to my dad, "Hey, look, Dad!" And for no reason, I just let go, and I went straight down on top of my head, and I was a big kid anyway, and I knocked myself out. My dad thought I was dead because that was a terrible fall. My dad ran to me. I started screaming before he got to me. Took me to the hospital because I was acting goofy. I had a concussion. They said I would be all right, but I got sick and was really sick for about a whole year. So finally, this lady corners my mom in a grocery store and begs her with tears in her eyes to take me to a chiropractor. And this is 1954, 1955. Chiropractors in Washington State were still, well, every place, were looked at, with the jaundiced eye. And so I end up in a chiropractic office, my mom on one side, my grandmother on the other side. My grandmother sees a spine, and she says, "Corrine, this is voodoo." But if it helps, Noel will stay. And so I got an Atlas adjustment from an upper cervical specific chiropractor, Palmer specific chiropractor, Dr. Art Thompson. And literally changed my life. In fact, because of what happened to me, that night I got back in the car and my dad said, "He's different." And I got better. And so the whole family started to see Haynes and Thompson chiropractors, Charlie Haynes and Art Thompson, as a result of my experience.
That's awesome.
And all kinds of things happened in the family. And so I grew up not getting vaccinated. I grew up getting adjusted. I would get sick, and I remember the chiropractor coming to my house with a portable upper cervical table, and I'd get my Atlas whacked back into place, and the very next day I'm out playing, sandlot football again. And so decided to become a chiropractor when I was 11 years old because my dad said I wasn't too young to think about what I would be doing for a living. And I remember at 11, I was thinking, I am too. I'm 11 years old. I'm too young. But he said, you could be a chiropractor. You could help people. Dr. Haynes and Dr. Thompson really helped our family. And you could be your own boss and you can make a good living. So since my dad never gave advice, I just said, oh, okay. And I decided to become a chiropractor sitting in the front seat of a 1955 DeSoto on the way home from a chiropractic adjustment. Enrolled at Palmer when I was 18 years old, graduated when I was 20, was practicing when I was 22. Graduated when I was 22 and started practicing at 22.
So I'm going to segue into another rabbit trail with you for a moment, but why Palmer?
Because my first chiropractor was a Palmer graduate.
Okay.
And so, and they were avid Palmer advocates. And so where should I go to school? Palmer. Okay. I had no idea there was another school, when I started looking.
So I don't know if you know this, but I lived in Davenport, Iowa for the first 30 years of my life.
Wow.
But here's
You're a tough guy.
here's the catch.
Were you in Davenport, Iowa in 1967?
You know, it's the funniest thing. I was about to get there with you. Is I wasn't born until '78.
Well, I went back in 1967, and I remember showing up and taking a look at Palmer. And my friends were talking about, their experience at college. They don't have any classes on Thursday, so they go skiing. Well, I had classes every single day. In fact, I had a daily 6:45 a.m. medical terminology class. And my college life was a lot different than the rest of my friends, but I love Palmer. And when I went back years and years and years later, everything had changed. It seemed like every place I had lived, except for the Palmer dorm, had been torn down or made into a parking lot. So anyway, that's where I went. And came back to Washington State and started practicing.
We'll have to go back sometime to the Fountainhead together.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I can take you on the Jim Chester tour of Davenport, Iowa.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great. When I went back after so many years of it having not gone back, it was so evocative. I was there between 18 and 22 years old, and your emotions, your hormones, everything is just you're a teenager and a young 20s guy. And I drove over the bridge from Moline into Davenport and Bettendorf and that area, and all of a sudden all these memories start flooding back. And I walked the campus of Palmer, and I remember being there with Guy Riekman and Jerry Klom and others, and it was a real emotional trip as well as a wonderful trip full of great memories. The school looked so much better than it did then, and the town looked so much worse than it did then.
Yeah, back to your original statement to me as a tough guy. Yeah, it's a tough city. It's a working class city, and it's. I can go on all day about talking about what type of character Davenport, Iowa breeds, but it's really great that we have Palmer there as a almost a saving grace for that community, and to have big shoulders for the community to stand on, to know that it's at least going to be something that generates a great energy around that city. And I call Palmer, I call that area Davenport where I'm from, I call it Palmerland.
Yeah. I remember one day I was going to go to school, and my radio came on, alarm clock radio, and here was the weather. It's 30 degrees below zero with 30-mile-an-hour winds, and I think the wind chill was something like minus 72. And I just hit the clock, and I went back to sleep. And I'm glad I did, because that day the boiler broke at the school. I mean, it was tough. I'd never seen winters like this before. I grew up in Seattle area, so everything was pretty mild.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel a bit stronger by spending 30 years of my life in that city.
Yeah, I bet.
So what would you say makes you unique in the chiropractic world? What are you doing differently from everybody else out there?
The thing that I do right now, and I absolutely love to do, is I help successful chiropractors replicate their success in associates in a win-win relationship. My story was that I had a big practice for me. I was seeing 500 visits a week, and then I got in this career-ending ski accident. I blew up my neck, cord stenosis, IVF encroachment, was supposed to have a bi-level fusion. And I remember just absolutely being stunned. How could this happen to me? I only ever wanted to be a chiropractor. I got a new wife. I got a new baby. What in the world am I going to do? And I decided that I would stay in chiropractic, and that I went to work on three things. I went to work on the business of the chiropractic practice. I went to work on hiring and developing associates, and I went to work on marketing. And what I found is that I could work shoulder to shoulder with great young men and young women in a win-win relationship. And instead of learning from me and taking off as quickly as they could. They learned from me and stayed. And we started building clinics for these associates. And so I built 10 successful clinics and sold them to my associates, and I'm still friends with that bunch today because we were in a win-win relationship. And so what I do right now, and this is my specialty and my passion, is that the busy, successful chiropractor typically tells me that he or she needs help. They're working harder for less money. Number 2, they want freedom. Some of them, with tears in their eyes, have said, my kids grew up with me, never able to take a full week off. We became the master of the 3 and 4 day weekend vacation because I couldn't leave the practice. And looking back over my shoulder, I now think it's crazy that I was the only one supporting the overhead. So what I help people do is find the right associate, bring them in the right way into a win-win relationship so that they can work together with someone they like, doing work that's high-quality clinic work, but the clinic director can get not only help, but also get freedom and extra money. I mean, it never made any sense to me to have just one chiropractor under one roof and have the entire weight of that overhead on him or her. And so you collect chiropractors under one roof, and if the clinic director knows how to do a win-win associateship, you can have men and women that work together for decades. So that's what I teach. That's what I'm really excited about.
That's really cool. I didn't really understand the depth of what you do for the chiropractic profession, and it's honorable for what you've figured out through, I think the chiropractor tenet is to give, love, serve, but when you're not taking care of patients, I think that still you have the same give, love, serve approach. And I think it's really cool for me to hear that.
Well, I've talked to so many different people I'll just go back to these 3 points. I need help, Noel, but I'm afraid to hire an associate. I hired an associate one time, and it was a terrible experience, or I have friends who did, and it was a terrible experience. 85%, this is my unofficial research, but 85% of associateships end on some type of sour note. The clinic director didn't get what he or she was looking for, and the associate didn't get what they were looking for. So they need help. They want freedom. I mean, I love chiropractic. I love my work. But what I learned in my process, I could actually take 12 weeks off a year. When I became the managing chiropractor, and what I do is I teach chiropractors who still want to practice how to also be the managing chiropractor of a multiple doctor operation, and be able to also teach them how to have the best interests of the associate in mind. And that doesn't mean that I get taken advantage of as the director or the associate get taken advantage of, that there's this intersection of what it means for me to win and what it means for them to win. And I teach people to put together these win-win relationships where clinic director loves their associate and the associate loves the clinic director, and there's more than enough success for everybody. And you can be an absolutely tremendous chiropractor and not have any idea how to develop an associate. In fact, that's frequently the case, is that they just don't know how to do it.
So do you have any mantras or quotes that help you with your commitment as a chiropractic coach?
There are 2 that I love. One is what I call the trifold objective, which is to help people, have fun, make money. And everything that I do, I measure by those 3 standards. Am I going to help people first? And it has to be help people first. You want to help as many people as your technique allows, your heart desires. And that's your coaching technique as well, because I'm a coach. And so help people, have fun, make money. It's got to help people. I wanted to help patients, help the community, help my associates, help my staff. I'm always thinking about what's good for the team, what's good for the patient. And then number 3, it's got to be profitable. If it's not profitable, it's not here next year. You can have that great bakery, the great dry cleaner, the great chiropractic office. They could help people like crazy. They could be having a lot of fun, but if it's not profitable, it's not worthy of replication, and it could be gone. So that's the first one. The second one is fall in love with the process, and the results are assured. If I fall in love with beer, Cheetos, and the remote control and the couch, my butt's going to be as big as a wheelbarrow, and I have to deal with that, right? But if I fall in love with high fiber, low fat, and exercise, I'm going to get another fruit of that process. And so when I teach my clients, and this is the fun thing too, is that I'll teach somebody, and I'm thinking about a guy right now. He and his wife, they had associates in the past, and they were just, it was a terrible experience. I showed him how to develop associates inside the win-win model, and he says the most fun that he has in practice right now is making sure that his associates are successful. Now, they're a $1 million practice. They've well over doubled their practice. Most of the work now is being done by the associates. He still practices, but he gets tons of time off. His associates are thrilled to work with him, and he's fallen in love with the process of developing associates. So those would, if you want to get great at marketing, fall in love with it. If you want to get great at patient care and clinic hours, fall in love with it. I think we can choose our loves. So, I mean, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Makes a lot of sense to me. And it makes a lot of sense to how you've structured yourself to give advice to people, because you keep it simple. You keep the track simple. You keep it short. You keep it sweet. And you have objectives built around your success and other people's success. And when you see multiple people thriving and people don't feel like they have a ball and chain around their ankle to their desk or to their clinic or to their practice, and they don't have any ability to actually live, I mean, they're living, but they're not actually experiencing life. They're on the treadmill of adjusting. They're on the treadmill of billing. They're on the treadmill of, opening the sign, turning the sign, going to lunch, coming back, turning the sign. They're on that treadmill of perpetual practice. And I think that's really good, but sometimes they need somebody to help their systems.
I had a guy one time tell me, he said, nobody could break records in my clinic that I established. And I smiled at him and I said, that's a very expensive attitude you hold. And he says, well, what do you mean nobody can? I said, well, I held the position that I wanted every single one of my associates to beat my best numbers. If they did that in a relationship with me, the only thing I would have to put aside would be my ego. I wouldn't have to put aside my success. I've coached associates to eclipse my best ever biggest numbers. And when they do that in a relationship with me, I benefit as well. The only thing I have to give up is my ego. And you know what? My ego has never served me that well anyway. And so if I'm able to stand next to a young man or a young woman who's working with me, and they've eclipsed the 500 plus patient visit a week number, in fact, and be able to do that at a higher level than me, I'm thrilled for them. And people have asked me, well, what will happen? I mean, if they get too successful, they'll leave. Well, 66% of students in school right now plan to be in their own practice someday anyway. And back in the day when I started to develop associates, it was more like 80%. And so if you can help facilitate that, then that associate who was successful and left becomes your advertisement, your poster boy, kind of like the patient that you really helped with migraine headaches. When I'm looking to interview my next associate, I would say, hey, why don't you talk to this guy about his experience with me? And so it's just, I don't know. I kind of got on a riff there. I hope that was germane to the topic.
No, it's okay. I think that a lot of times we like to go a bit unscripted and, evolve with the interview process, because not everything that we do is linear. Sometimes
Okay.
sometimes I will get onto an idea and I'll ask you to say, hey, Noel, we're going to jump off script here for a minute. I'm going to ask you something that doesn't flow on the questions that we sent to you. So we do that quite often. So I think it's good
Cool.
when you share, what your innate flash is and what your thought flash is at the moment, because I think that it's relevant.
So I would say that the win-win associate development, long-term, really, really good relationship between clinic director and associate, where it's my goal that my associate be able to hit the trifold objective, which is to help people have fun, make money. I want them to help as many people as they possibly want to, desire in their heart. And so I coach them to that. I want them to have as much fun as they want. I want them to make as much money as they want in a relationship with me. In fact, that becomes my goal. And it's also a really, really good way to have a motivated associate. I was talking to a young woman who worked for one of my clients who's been in the Win-Win program, and she was telling me what she was sharing with her parents on a phone call after she had gone home from the clinic. She was so excited. She got her big bonus check, and she was saying, I know for a fact my clinic director wants me to be successful, that he is working hard to see me become successful. Now, not at the expense of the clinic director, but they win-win together. I can imagine the phone calls that happen in some offices, like, this is a dead-end job. All I'm doing is I'm an exam dog, and I adjust overflow. And people tell me that their associates aren't motivated. And what I think to myself is, well, why in the world should they be? Nobody went to chiropractic college thinking how much fun it would be to come out and work a dead-end associate position. But if I can find, if a young graduate can find somebody who wants to develop them and understands that they may leave in a couple, 3, 4 years, but they're going to get a super high-value master's in chiropractic business administration success in their associateship, actually be paid great money in order to learn, then that's the doctor that's motivated in his or her associateship. So I call it bringing somebody in through the right door, instead of I'm going to use you and abuse you, and you're finally going to wake up to the fact that this is a dead-end job, and then you'll leave and you'll have that sour taste in your mouth. When you come and work with me, whether we're working 2 years or 20 years together, I'm going to do my darndest to take the success principles and concepts that I have learned and help you become successful as well. And that I have found that win-win foundation to be so powerful for keeping everybody in the game. And then when my associate wins, I'm excited. And when my associate gets training, they understand that this is directly related to me winning, so I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to be motivated. And associates make great money too. In my system, associates make great money, but they earn every penny of it.
Sure. I think that a lot of times when it comes to a business model or business plan, people don't know how to earn unless it's them doing it. And I think it's really like business kung fu in a way, how people can integrate and figure out how to make somebody not feel like they're the only one that can do the work to earn to support a system in a business.
Well, the number one reason that people have called 5-star management, now New Patient Academy and 5-star management, for over 30 years is not enough new patients. Not enough new patients. What do you think the first thing you should train your associate to do? Is get new patients. Now, I'm going to give you actual testimonies or stats. The vast majority of associates who are developed in the win-win paradigm make more money for the clinic director than they cost them in base salary by the end of 60 days. 40% make more money than they cost the clinic director in salary in the first month. So just think about that. Let's say you're paying a base of $3,500 or $4,500, and you can have a profitable associate. Now, there's so much that goes with that. We're in a game. We're in a race. The race is to help the associate get to bonus. But on the way to bonus, they pay for themselves. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and he said, when you told me that initially, I hoped it was true. But my associate just paid for himself in the second month. And in the first month brought in so much money, my investment into this associate now is below $1,500. And my associate has his eyes on making bonus, and when he makes bonus, I will be just fine. So that gives instead of just hang around and hopefully they accidentally get something, there's a whole training process. There's a whole system of teachings and how you pick the person, how you develop the person, how you train the person. My first 3 assignments come to my associates. Well, the ink is still wet on the contract. You know what I mean? Like, I've done the interview process, and I have a very, very specific screening process to make sure I get the right person for my practice and for my personality. And once I find that person, we have a contract. You need to have a contract that protects everybody, but specifically the person who has the most to lose, and that's the clinic director. But when the ink is still wet on the contract, that's when you go right into training. You go right into the first assignments. And so you get some momentum. It's like, I watched the Kentucky Derby the other day. As soon as the gate opens and the bell rings, those horses are out of the gate, boom, just like that. Contrast that with a standard old broken model associateship where the doctor just learns how to do new patient day 1, new patient day 2, and cover overhead. That clinic director never works on the associate's success. There's no success track for the associate. And so the associate wakes up to that. I mean, these kids when I say kids, I'm 69 years old. These kids wake up to that, and pretty soon all their motivation goes away, and they start asking themselves, what in the heck can I glean from this relationship until I can go out on my own? And they're not learning anything. Nobody's taken charge of them and helped them out. But I start right away. And I want them to know, I want them to be on the phone to their parents or speaking to their spouses and saying, Dr. Lloyd cares as much about my success as he cares about his own. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's the only way to do it. But this we are in this old broken paradigm of come to work for me and I'll work you to the bone, and you'll wake up to the fact you're in a dead-end job where nobody provided for your success, and then you go out and try to find something else thinking, well, I learned something from my clinic director. If you talk to students, I did this thing at Parker, which was so much fun. I had students on one side, and I had clinic directors on the other side. And I asked the students, what do you think when I say associates or associateships? There wasn't one positive comment, not one. It was all about the necessary evil, and you need a job, and the chiropractors eat their young, and you know what? They didn't get that out of because they're temperamentally deranged. They got that because of the stories that they've heard. So I asked the clinic directors, what do you think of associateships? Entitled, lazy. I mean, it was really, really wild. And then I went on to explain win-win associates. And at the end, I talked for about 30, 40 minutes about how to set this up correctly. I mentioned, there was one guy with 4 sons there, and I said, so imagine an associateship that you'd want your kid to have. You going to have any kids that can be a chiropractor? Yeah, my oldest, I think so. He's thinking about coming to Parker right now. So, okay, great. So how about this? What would you want the clinic director, if he wasn't practicing with you, what would you want him to do? Well, I'd want him to train him. Okay, but do you want him to get a free ride? No, he's got to work. He's always worked. He's got a good work ethic. So I said, I would imagine that if your son saw a system or a process where he could learn and become successful, that he'd be motivated, he'd be excited, and he would give his best. He said, yeah, of course he would. I said, that's win-win associates. Now, there are so many moving pieces to the process, and that's why I train people to do this. There's how to prepare. There's the new paradigm. You've got to have the win-win paradigm. Understand what it means for the associate to win. Understand what it means for you to win. Understand how that Venn diagram, those 2 intersecting circles, what are the 5 biggest wins that both people need, right? And then you need to understand the hiring process, because you've got to be able to pick the winners from the losers. And somebody that might work well for your practice would work for mine. I'm going to hire somebody who's right for me and somebody who's right for my practice. And then there's this process of the onboarding, how to introduce somebody to your culture. This is a great story. So a guy called me up, and he's got an associate, and he's thinking about becoming a client. And he said, my associate, he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do this. And he does these 3 or 4 things that drive me crazy. So it's what he doesn't do and what he does do. And I asked the guy, I said, well, have you told him? And he said, he should know. And I said, well, how's that working for you right now, the he should know theory? Because you think he should be able to read your mind? So I came up with this axiom years and years ago. You have no right to expect anything that isn't written down and discussed. And so imagine that all my expectations, before you even sign the contract, that the process, before you even sign the contract, that all of these are discussed up front. And imagine that you're an associate and you've got an advocate. One of the things I would tell my associates, it means very, very much to me that you are successful in my system. It also means a lot to me that you do well, so that everybody else who works with me at Sound Chiropractic Centers will think that I know how to choose people correctly. So I want to do this. I want to make sure that if you have a question, if you get stuck, if you run into a problem, that you come to me. I am on your side. I want to see you win.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, Movo University, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Tractioning System, Imaging Services, Ignite Marketing, and Zingit Solutions. Let's hustle.
So do you and I have that communication? Yeah, we do. Okay, great. And every now and again I would say, how are we doing? How's the job? How's the training? How do you feel about the process that we're in? And sometimes they get a little bit discouraged, and sometimes they feel a little bit overwhelmed. But that's when the mentoring piece needs to come in. And this is the fun thing, I think, for the successful clinic director. You guys know how much chiropractors spend on seminars and classes and courses to become successful. Imagine, and this is what we do in Win-Win Associates, is that we package that stuff up inside your brain, inside your clinic, so that you can train your associate to replicate your success. And so I love being a coach. I love helping people. And my clients that I help coach their associates, they love that process as well. And so they want to be a resource. Now, it doesn't mean that the associate doesn't work, because everybody works. But it means that there's value to the work and there's value to the training, and we always connect the training and what we're teaching to what the associate wants, so that it makes sense to them. And by the way, that's the way we keep the motivation high. I don't know if that was an answer to the question, but that was one of those riffs again.
On the topic of being successful, what would it mean if more doctors and chiropractors got under your coaching program?
So there's two groups, right? There's the successful chiropractor that's working him or herself to the bone, and they don't have a fraction of the freedom that they want, and they're the single producer, or they do something crazy. Chiropractors are more crazy get-rich-quick schemes that people bring into their office that doesn't have anything to do with chiropractic, because they think they need to make money. So that's one group. And here's the other group. Associate, a new chiropractor graduated, $250,000 in debt, doesn't know how to put together a care plan, doesn't know how to get new patients. They don't know how to do anything that they need to. I mean, they are basically a loan default just waiting to happen. So if the clinic director, the successful clinic director, learned how to do win-win associate development, he or she could have not only a super profitable, super helpful, freedom-producing associate, but the associate would have a great education, which would be the equivalent of a discipleship program, a mentorship program, an apprenticeship program, and an associateship program, that if they wanted to be out on their own, then they would basically go through this Master's in Business Administration Chiropractic Success course and eventually go out on their own. Or, I hear this so much now, my associate was thinking about working with me for a couple of years, but he just came to me the other day and said, that couple of years thing, if things continue to go like this, I'd like to stay for the foreseeable future. Do you think there'd be room for me? Because when you know that your clinic director has your best interest at heart, then you think, well, this is great, and I'm making great money, and I can have my vacations, and I can have my associate, wants to stay around. So I think it would be great. There would be these groups of chiropractors that clinic director gets his 5, 6, 8, 12 weeks off a year. The associate gets his 2, 4 weeks off a year. They bring in another associate. They bring in interns. They become these little success factories where great chiropractors are helping people, having fun, and making money.
Yeah, I love that. So if we start doing more of this and we get more chiropractors winning and we get more successful chiro tribes, is which I like to call them, and we get more synergy within the small business models to be more successful, to help more people make more revenue and have more fun, what does the profession look like in the next 20 years?
Well, I think it looks absolutely great. I have been asked, somebody asked me the other day, are you worried about the future of chiropractic? And I said, last year in 5-star management, we had the highest number of first-time $1 million practices and the highest percentage of best ever years in practice. The people that I'm working with, their practices are growing, and I'm helping them. I'm helping them find good associates and going through the process of doing that. If you were mentored, if you were discipled, if you were apprenticed in success procedures, and you knew for a fact that your clinic director really, really cared for how you did, and you made good money, and somebody was looking out after you, if you ended up staying there, that would be a great deal. But if you ended up in your own practice, how do you think you would develop your associates? I had this situation happen to me not long ago. Somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm your great-granddaughter." I said, what do you mean by that? I said, "Well, you developed Lenars. Lenars developed Wolf, and Wolf developed me." And that was Christine Zapata. And I said, "Oh, great." I said, "How was your associateship?" It was super. So I taught Mike Lenars how to do associates, and Mike Lenars taught Chris, and Chris Wolf was a client of mine as well. And then he found Christine Zapata, and he helped her. Now, you know what she's doing? She's developing associates inside the win-win model, and she's a client of mine. So there's a right way to do this. It's not, when you learn the systems and you learn how they snap together, you'll take a look back over your shoulder and say, why did anybody ever do it the other way? And it's because that most chiropractors don't have any experience in developing associates the right way.
So
anyway, that's what I think. You have a lot more chiropractors successful in their practice.
Sure, and I can see that too. Is I think a lot of times that people they get on the chiropractic island and they don't know how to supply themselves from all facets of success. And I think that that's a major sticking point for the profession right now, which I think will eventually become an old conversation. And we'll remember those days where chiropractors didn't do well and they weren't succeeding after 5 years? Those stats are garbage now. We've moved on from that. That's such an old conversation, but we lived through it. And that just shows that even chiropractic through its worst days will be the best profession, period, when it comes to natural health paradigm. And just like Reggie Gold said, even the worst adjustments, a good adjustment, something to that degree. And
can I tell you a story about the worst adjustment?
Sure.
I have a patient that was terribly visually impaired, and fell down a flight of stairs, and cracked her head on the wall at the bottom of the stairs. And for the first time, she was able to sense light. And I told her, I said, what you got was the worst chiropractic adjustment imaginable. Because when I adjusted her, she was able to sense light and actually be able to make out shapes. And but it was, Reggie was right. I knew Reggie. Reggie was, when I was 20 years old, I heard Reggie speak at Palmer College. And I didn't know who he was, and he was in a crushed velvet tuxedo with a ruffled front shirt and sideburns, down to the corners of his mouth, and he was a character. But I mean, he was just absolutely great. So, yes, the worst adjustment is better than no adjustment.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good analogies within the chiropractic profession for making sense of what chiropractors do and what they don't do. And, I think that you earlier alluded to the idea that everybody wants to come and sell to the chiropractor to sell their wares, and everybody wants to network through the chiropractor because, it is a community center. Chiropractors, without a doubt, they run a community center. They run a clinic. They take care of people, and it makes sense to want to sell stuff from a place where it's busy.
Right. Well, I would love to see more clinic directors develop associates the correct way. 66%, there are 51% of the students in chiropractic colleges today are women. When I went to school, I was in a class of 164 people when I matriculated at Palmer in the fall of 1967, and there were 4 women in the class. A lot of these women that are in chiropractic today, they want to also be wives and mothers. And one of the things that I coach, in fact, there's a young woman that I coach in Troy, Michigan. Her name is Jamie Kramer. And she said, I want to have a family, and I've got this great practice. The great practice literally was her first baby, right? But she said, I don't want to do that at the sacrifice of my practice. So showed her how to develop associates inside the win-win model. And Jamie just had her second baby, and listen to this. She's out for 15 weeks, so it's just a little bit longer than 3 months. For the 3 months that she's out, they break records in collections, and Jamie takes her practice up over $1 million. Total time off last year, 17 weeks, $1 million+ practice. And I interview her associates, and I say, how'd you feel about the process? It was so much fun. We just, we learned so much. We did so much. Jamie made more money than she's ever made. The associates have made more money than they ever made. It's just win-win. If we can do that, right now I'm working with about 156 people. I would like to see 1,056 people do that, because here's what would happen. It's called the ministry of multiplication. Jesus just started with 12 people and changed the world. But if you treat an associate correctly and teach them how to do win-win by doing win-win with them, they'll go out and do that themselves, or they'll stay. I coached this great guy in Temple, Texas. His name is Jeff Shells. Jeff literally had his chiropractic career saved by a win-win associate development chiropractor that I coached by the name of Larry Montgomery. And Larry put Jeff in a clinic and sold him a clinic like I did 10 different times, and he became successful, and he hired Jason. And Jason, while an associate, got to over 256 patient visits a week. Now those guys are partners. And guess what? Jason Race is now the lead associate development guy in Dr. Shell's and Dr. Race's clinic. And he's so young, and he's so good at it because he grew up in this culture. So I would like to see, if I had my way in this wicked world, I would like to see more and more people understand how to do win-win. One good associate, let's talk about the business side, means an additional $20,000 to $40,000 each month to the clinic.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know.
I love it.
Is it the business makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the popular things I like to say this day and age when I interview people and talk to people about the chiropractic industry is from the higher education to the successful practice, the math is broken. Like when it comes to like getting out of school and having $250,000 in debt and then going out there and figuring out how to open doors and how to go out there and put hands on people. I also ask people, how many of you guys have ever gone out and in your college career had a class on how to run a health fair? Or how to go out there and do a proper screening at a farmer's market, or how to go out there and do a massage event at a teacher appreciation day. None of them.
Right.
None of them know business building principles when it comes to the chiropractic method. And I think that they're coming out of school and the math is broken, and they don't know how to go out and harvest their communities for new patients, like you said, and they fall flat because they don't have anybody really supporting their success. After they walk that line and get that piece of paper, it's a sink or swim proposition. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that sink rather than swim because they don't know the right systems or strategies to help them become highly successful. So at this point, I think the question would be for you is, what marketing strategies are you utilizing as a coach to get more clients?
Now you're talking about more coaching clients?
Yeah, what do you...
I do Facebook. I'm doing a live event in Atlanta where I'm going to be teaching win-win associates.
That's awesome.
I'm going to have some of my people who have done my program. They're going to be there, and I mean, I love this stuff. And when I talk about it, I see face after face after face after face. I see Brian and Misty Morris. I see Jamie Kramer, Milo Thurber, Steve Jones, Stan Dombrowski, and Kerry Kleinfeld, and I could go on and on and on and on. And so when I teach a particular principle, like the paradigm, the whole new paradigm, I'll give an example. I'll teach about hiring, I'll give an example. I'll teach about launching, I'll give an example. And I'll let them see, this is what we're doing. Do you want to do this with us? And we get people into our seminars by some of our JV partners who know me and love my stuff, like the Chiro Sushi people, like Tristan and Dan Golden, or Bill Davis, and they get the message out. Hey, Noel's teaching about this, and our experience is that about 2/3 of the people who come and see our live stuff, when we explain it, they sign up.
Well, that's really cool.
So I like that.
Yeah, it's cool that you're figuring out the channels of building your brand and figuring out where to go and who's interested in what you're doing and helping each other with that attitude that you carry with you, the win-win.
I had a guy ask me Tuesday night. He said, "Why do you still work?" And he says, I know you. I know what you've done. Why do you work? I said, well, first of all, what am I going to do? Grow roses? Am I going to play golf? My wife is a best-selling published author. She's writing books. The kids are gone. I love what I do, and I'm still working at it. And I don't think that meaning and fulfillment is that you can get that from what you don't have to do. I think meaning and fulfillment and value in life and joy in life come from your projects and your meaningful pursuits where you're winning. And I get a chance to work with George and Leah and Brittany and Angie and Zoe and now Rachel, and then I get a chance to change lives. And so, I mean, I love what I do, and I like the pursuit. I don't know if that was the answer to the question, but it sure felt good.
So, when you're not busy coaching people, what kind of things do you like to read or listen to in your spare time?
Well, I do 36 minutes on a Stairmaster 5 to 6 mornings a week, and so I'll do coaching. I'll do coaching webinars. Different things on how to teach and how to run live events and how to do that. I read all my wife's books. KateLloyd.com. If you want to see Kate Lloyd's books. I was a big Tom Clancy fan, just like all the spy stuff. I read the Bible, and I think that there's absolutely tremendous life information, whether you're a Christian or not, in the Bible. But I'm a Christian, and so I read the Bible. What I do, I've got 8 acres up on the water up on Camino Island, and I was just up there over the weekend with my son and my grandkids, and walk the beach. My wife and I sit quietly and talk, and watch a little TV at night before we both turn in real early. Now, if I had to preach on lifestyle, I get up every morning at 4:30, weekdays at 4:30, and I get my leisure time at the start of my day instead of the end of my day. My brain is fresh. Get my eggs, my coffee. I go work out. I'm listening to stuff. Maybe listen to Spotify. So I put the leisure part of my day at the start. By the time you get to my age, a lot of people have come to that conclusion.
Hey, I just turned 39 last year, and I've started waking up earlier every day. I woke up this morning at 5:30, and I was on the top of a mountain and down the mountain by 7:30. So I already went out. I already went out and conquered a mountain this morning, and I do find a lot of value in getting up earlier in the morning as well. And that's when I feel charged up. That's when I feel most alive. And I love it. There's nothing greater. When we're done, I'll send you a picture of 2 days ago. I got pictures of the sunrise on a hike and the picture of a sunset on a hike on the same day.
That's great. In order to do this, I get to the gym. I'm standing outside. They open the door, and I'm standing there with Lisa and Keith and Eric and Skip and Dave and Skinny Mike and Mark. There's this little group of people, right? One of the things that I tell people who come to a 5-star live training, I want you to meet everybody in the group, because these people who are here with you in this group, they're here because they think what I think is right. They think it's help people first, have fun second, be very, very profitable third. They think fall in love with the process and the results are assured. They're headed in the right direction. Don't try this journey alone. It doesn't make sense to go alone. In fact, it's just lonely to go it alone. So, if you've heard a chiropractic speaker who's also a coach, who has a program, attend one of their live trainings. Talk to the people at the break. See if you like the people that you meet. We have a policy that we don't recruit people to become clients if we don't like their goals and ethics, because we have to coach them and we have to help them, and we don't want people with bad motives to use our stuff. But join a group. It's going to be worth the money to be with another group of people all headed in the same direction. It's really interesting to see our 5-star management clients Facebook page. We welcome new clients and everybody's patting them on the back. Best decision you've ever made. And then we post our wins on Wednesday. We have something we call Winning Wednesday, and it's so encouraging. And we just work on developing this community that supports help people have fun, make money. So get involved with some group. Make your way to a 5-star management seminar. Let me ask you to do that at some point in time.
Yeah, and I want to do that. What is your next dates that you have coming out for your 5-star management live events?
Well, I'm going to be in Atlanta on May 19th for what I call Win-Win Associates. I'm doing a 1-day there. But after that, it's the first weekend in June. I'll be in Chicago, and the second weekend in June, I'll be in Seattle, doing what we call high volume, low stress. People ask me, how did you do multiple offices? I never owned more than 5 at a time. I liked 5. An office has an operating system just the way that a clinic does, right? I mean, just the way that a computer does. And so we teach a very low-stress, intuitive, user-friendly office operating system. And this is the seminar where we do that. And we have our clients bring out their top lead right arm CAs. We call them super CAs. And we do tremendous streamlining, and it's a great training to come. It's the thing that allowed me to do multiple clinics. Not that I would ever suggest people do that unless they want to.
Well, maybe one day you'd like to have Luke and I at one of your events do live interviews from your event so people can see a little bit of the magic that happens outside the 4 walls of your trainings.
I've got a big event planned for, and a big event for us, by the way, is 130, 140 people. We aren't the
perfect,
4, 5, 6, 800 people in a room, because we're still accessible. But we've got one of those coming up in Dallas in November, and we're going to teach 2 seminars simultaneously. We'll teach Win-Win Associates, and then from 0 to 200 in record time. I will get the clinic directors, and Dr. George will get the associates and the people who are building to the level where they can get an associate. That'd be great to have you guys come.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to build synergy with you long term. I find a lot of value in what we do. We hold space for people to tell their stories, but I also like the relationship building and bond aspect of what we do as well, because we get a chance to network with the brightest and the most helpful people in the chiropractic profession, which really sets a standard for what we are able to do going forward, because now we have that relationship equity with you.
Well, great. Well, I would love that. I've enjoyed this.
We have too, and we're just about at the end of this episode. So do you have any website links or social media links you want to share with the listeners?
Well, 5-Star Management is my5star.com, myfivestar.com, my5star.com. New Patient Academy is our special new patient coaching group. It's my NPA, my New Patient Academy, mynpa.com. And we have 5-Star Management, New Patient Academy Facebook pages for our businesses. If you go to my5star.com, I have a lot of video blogs. I mean, a lot. A guy called me up the other day. He says, I watched 20 of your videos. I like the way you think. I want to be a client. And I said, okay. You want to know how much it is? Oh, I already know. He said, okay. You ready to sign up? Yeah, that's what I said. I already know you. And so I want people to get to know who we are. I love my work, and one of the reasons that I do is that I show up the way that I am and tell people, you know, this is what we're going to do, and if you want to do it too, come with me. We'll have some fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I appreciate your sensibility with helping people and how you position yourself in this chiropractic marketplace. And I look forward to having a long, fruitful friendship with you.
Great. Well, me too, you guys. It's been fun.
Yeah, this was a really insightful episode, and I want to thank you for being our guest today.
You are totally welcome.
Thanks, Dr. Noel.
You're welcome.
See you on the next one.
Okay, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Are we done?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, really nice to meet you. Did we do well?
Yeah, I thought the episode was fantastic. I loved how you kind of took lead and just shared your information with everyone. And I love the opportunity to get to know you, like I mentioned a couple times. And I think we just have great synergy with each other.
Are you going to be at the sushi boot camp in Vegas?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you in Vegas June 21st through 23rd.
Yep. I'll be there. I'll be there with bells on.
I look forward to meeting you there.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right,
Bye-bye.
See you, Noel.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.